Hello, how are you? I'm a little tired. Sit and breathe. I'd like to speak English today too, to improve my speaking skill. Let's get it started. Today, it is July 22nd, 2022. It's sunny outside. It's Friday today. I'd like to achieve something great in my life. I'd like to achieve something great. I'd like to achieve landmark invention, landmark feat. I'd like to achieve a landmark feat in my life. I'd like to achieve a landmark feat. I'd like to achieve a landmark feat. Landmark feat. I'd like to achieve a landmark feat. I'd like to achieve landmark feat. I'd like to achieve a landmark feat. I'd like to achieve a landmark feat in my life and want to be admitted by many people, especially professionals. I'd like to achieve a landmark feat. I'd like to achieve a landmark feat. A landmark feat. The landmark invention was made after a series of failures. In order to achieve a landmark feat, we will repeat failing. We will repeat failing. Otherwise, we cannot achieve something great. We cannot achieve a landmark feat. In order to achieve a landmark feat, we will have to keep failing and failing. After the series of failing, we will finally achieve a landmark feat. Landmark. The medical students are learning dyslexia. The medical students are learning dyslexia. The medical students are learning about dyslexia. The medical students are learning about dyslexia. The medical students are learning about dyslexia. The medical students are learning dyslexia. The medical students are learning dyslexia. The medical students are learning about dyslexia now. Dyslexia. The medical students are learning about dyslexia. Dyslexia now. The medical students are learning about dyslexia. I might have been diagnosed as dyslexia when I got to the inspection when I was an elementary school student, because I had difficulty in reading and writing at that time. I might have been diagnosed as dyslexia if I got to the thorough inspection at the hospital when I was a kindergarten pupil or lower grade of elementary school student, because I had difficulty in understanding written words. Are you versed with dyslexia? Are you familiar with dyslexia? What is dyslexia? What symptoms involve regarding dyslexia? What symptoms include regarding dyslexia with respect to dyslexia, with regard to dyslexia, regarding dyslexia, with respect to dyslexia, with regard to dyslexia, in regard to dyslexia, in respect to dyslexia. The medical students are learning 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 about dyslexia. The medical students are learning about dyslexia. What symptoms does dyslexia involve? What symptoms does dyslexia involve? What symptoms does the dyslexia involve? What symptoms does the dyslexia involve? What symptoms does the dyslexia involve? Dyslexia involve. What symptoms does the dyslexia involve? What symptoms does the dyslexia involve? The medical students are learning about dyslexia now. The medical students are learning about dyslexia. The medical students asked the professor about question about dyslexia. The medical student asked the professor the question about dyslexia. The medical student asked a question to the professor about dyslexia. Dyslexia. The medical students are learning the lecture about dyslexia. The medical students are learning about dyslexia. The medical students are listening to the lecture about dyslexia. The medical student asked the professor a question regarding dyslexia. The medical student asked a question to the professor about in regard to dyslexia. The medical student asked the professor a question about dyslexia. The medical student asked the professor a question about dyslexia. The medical student asked a question to the professor. Asked the professor a question. The medical student asked the professor a question. The medical student asked the professor a question. The medical student asked the professor a question. Asked. The medical student asked the professor a question regarding dyslexia. The medical student asked the professor regarding dyslexia. The medical student asked the professor about dyslexia. Dyslexia. I sometimes have difficulty in understanding what the professor is saying, explaining on the board. I often have difficulty in understanding what the native speakers speaking. I often have trouble in understanding native speakers speaking so fast. Sake is more than just alcoholic beverages in Japan. There are a little more to it than that. There is a little more to it than just drinking. Actually, I didn't visit branch office. I didn't visit. Actually, the CEO did not visit our branch office. Can I visit your office? Can I visit your home? Can I drop in on your home today? The traffic jam caused many commuters to be late for their destination. The traffic jam caused many commuters to be late for their destination, such as schools, workplaces, and so on. The traffic jam caused many commuters to be late for their work destinations. Earthquakes can cause tsunamis. Earthquake can cause tsunami. Earthquake can cause tsunami. Earthquake can cause tsunami. The explanation from the famous YouTuber had a big effect on us. Have a big impact on us. The shocking footage from the news had a big impact on us. Had a big effect on us. The colorful design of the building is impacting us. The colorful design of the building is impacting the pedestrians. Tokyo Sky 3 Tower is impacting us. The Tokyo Sky 3 Tower is impacting us a lot. Tokyo Sky 3 Tower is impacting us a lot because it is so high, with the height of 634 Musashi. 634 is also called Musashi in Japanese. Musashi is also the old name of Tokyo. That's why the height of the Tokyo Sky 3 became 634. 東京スカイツリー Tower is impacting us a lot. Tokyo Sky 3 Tower is impacting us a lot. Influencers will impact us a lot, so they should have choose the words they speak. Some music impacted me a lot, which changed my life a lot. Some songs impacted me a lot and changed my mind. Some songs impacted me a lot. Some songs impacted me a lot, which changed my life. Some songs impacted me a lot. Different culture usually impacts me. Different cultures usually impact me in a good way. Different style of fashion impacted me. Different cultures usually impact me. Different cultures usually impact me in a good way. Different cultures usually impact me in a good way. Eating meatballs with jam impacted me. Eating meatballs with jam impacted me in a good way. I like it now. According to the weather forecast, it will be sunny for a week, over the next weekend, over the next week, over the next week, over a week next, over next week. According to the weather forecast, the next week will be sunny. According to the weather forecast, it will be sunny for a week. For a week over the Sunday. According to the weather forecast, it will be sunny for a week over the Sunday. The research development team is working hard to develop the landmark semiconductor goods. The research and development team is working hard to invent incredible car, which will impact the customers. The research and development team is working hard to meet the deadline of the invention. Are you interested in research jobs? Are you interested in research jobs? My father used to work for the research center. My father used to work for the research center. What does the term mean? What does the term mean? I usually study a lot during summer term. There are many terms I don't know. There are many terms I have to memorize. There are many terms in the book that I don't know. There are many terms I don't know in the book, in the journal. So I find it difficult to understand the sentences. And there are many terms in the journal, so I find it difficult to read the book. I found it difficult to understand the contents, lines of the journal. What does the term mean? What does the term mean? What does the word mean? What does the term 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 mean? There are many terms which I don't know in the journal, so I find it difficult to understand the journal. There were many terms which I don't know in the journal, so I found it very difficult to understand the journal. I found it difficult to understand the journal very much. I found it difficult to understand the journal. So I found it difficult to understand the journal. So I found it difficult to understand the journal. I usually study a lot during summer term. I usually study a lot during the summer term. I usually study a lot during the summer term. Are you on good terms with your husband? Are you on good terms with your mother? Are you on good terms with your friends? The couple has been on good terms with each other since they were high school students. The couple has been on good terms with each other since they were high school students. The couple has been on good terms with each other since they were university students. The couple has been on good terms with each other since they were junior high school students. The couple has been on good terms with each other since they were junior high school students. I used to be on bad terms with him, but now we are friendly. I used to be on bad terms with him. I used to be on bad terms with him. I used to be bad terms with him, I used to be on bad terms with him. One of my friends is on good terms with a celebrity. One of my friends is on good terms with a celebrity. One of my friends is on good terms with a celebrity. Are you on good terms with your wife? Are you on good terms with your teacher? Are you on good terms with a brother? Are you on good terms with a sister? Are you on good terms with your siblings? Are you on bad terms with your sister? Are you on bad terms with your brother? Are you on bad terms with your mother? Are you on bad terms with a brother? Are you on bad terms with your coworkers? Are you on bad terms with your colleagues? Are you on bad terms with your mother? I want to be on good terms with a celebrity. I want to be on good terms with my boss, but he is arrogant, obstinate. Are you on bad terms with your mother? Are you on bad terms with your mother? Are you on bad terms with your father? Why were you on bad terms with a girlfriend? Why were you on bad terms with a boyfriend? Are you on good terms with a boyfriend? Are you on good terms with a girlfriend now? Are you on good terms with a boyfriend now? Are you on good terms with a boyfriend now? Are you on good terms with your girlfriend now? Are you on good terms with your boyfriend now? Are you on good terms with your boyfriend now? Are you on good terms with your boyfriend now? The couple has been on intimate terms with each other since they were junior high school students. The municipal council has to discuss whether the festival should be held. The municipal council has to be held to be discussed whether or not the festival should be held in August. During this time of the coronavirus is increasing. The municipal council will be held to talk in terms of the festival. In terms of the festival, the municipal council should discuss. In terms of the festival, the governor should discuss. The governor should think well. Hear opinions from the specialist. In terms of the festival, the governor of the prefecture should think well and get information from the professionals, medical professionals. I declined the job. I declined the job because it involves what I didn't like to do, what I don't like to do. I turned down the job because it includes what I don't like to do. I declined the job. 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 I declined the job because it involves what I don't like to do. I think everything can involve danger to a certain extent, to some degrees. Everything can involve danger. Everything will involve danger. Everything will involve danger. Everything will involve danger. Everything will involve danger. To a certain extent, to some degree, to some extent. What are you doing here? What are you doing here? What does the job involve? What does the perk involve? What does the job involve? What kind of danger involves in the job? What kind of danger does the event involve? What kind of danger does the trip involve? What does the danger does the activity involve? What kind of danger? What kind of danger? What sort of danger does the event involve? The price written on the tag involves tax, consumption tax. So all you have to pay is the price on the tag. The price written on the tag includes tax. The price written on the tag includes tax. The price written on the tag involves tax. The price written on the tag involves tax. The price written on the tag includes tax. So all you have to pay is the price on the tag. Okay? But the system might be different depending on the shops. Please ask the shoppers Please ask the clerk. The job involves the transfer to a foreign country. The job involves being transferred to a foreign branch. The job involves being transferred to a foreign branch. The job involves English skill. The job involves speaking English skill. The job involves speaking English in the office. 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 Have you ever been involved in tourism industry? Have you ever been involved in tourism agency, tourism industry? Have you ever been involved in bank industry? Have you ever been involved in the festival? Have you ever been involved in fraud? Have you ever been involved in tourism industry? I have been involved in tourism industry. I have been involved in the festival, which is a good memory now. I have been involved in the festival back about 10 years ago. The suspect was arrested for being involved in the fraud. The suspect was arrested for being involved in the fraud. The suspect was arrested for being involved in the fraud. The suspect was arrested for being involved in the fraud. The suspect was arrested for the involvement of the fraud. The suspect was arrested for the involvement of the fraud scheme. The man was arrested for the involvement of the phishing scam. The man was arrested for the involvement of the fraud scheme. The CEO of the company finally admitted his involvement of the illegal transaction. The CEO of the company finally admitted his involvement of the illegal transaction of the stock. The CEO of the company finally admitted his involvement in the fraud. The CEO of the company finally admitted his involvement in the fraud. The employee finally admitted his involvement in the power harassment. The employee finally admitted his involvement in the illegal gambling. The man denied involvement in the fraud. The man denied the involvement in the fraud. The man denied the involvement in the fraud. The man first denied the involvement in the fraud. The man denied the involvement in the fraud. The man denied the involvement in the fraud. The man denied involvement in the fraud. Involvement. The man first denied involvement in the phishing scam. The employees' involvement in the antisocial group was made public. The employees' involvement in the antisocial group came to light with evidence of the pictures. Everybody admits his involvement in the fraud because many people were deceived by him. The CEO of the company kept denying his involvement in the antisocial group. Involvement, 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 involvement. Involvement. I know your involvement in the project. I know your involvement in the illegal gambling. I know your involvement in the project. Do you know my involvement in the festival? Do you know my involvement in the festival? The employees' involvement in the project came to light. The man's involvement in the phishing scam came to light with many evidence. We can talk about random topics. We usually talk about random topics. We can talk about random things. We can talk about random things. Random. I had to choose one topic from 3 random topics. I had to choose one topic from random 3 topics. So 3 of them are not necessarily what I had prepared. So ad-lib, speaking on the spot suddenly, is very important. The skill to be able to speak anything else for 2 minutes is very important, because the percentage that we will get the topics that we have prepared is little. So we have to be able to speak anything for 2 minutes from any random topics. I want to be rich enough to be able to buy anything at random without hesitation, without thinking at all. I want to be rich enough to be able to buy anything at random without hesitation. The coupons were sent to the customers randomly. The coupons were distributed to the customers randomly. The late judges will be chosen from Japanese people who are more than 20 years old who have the right to vote at randomly. Japanese legislature will be chosen from Japanese people who are more than 20 years old with the right to vote randomly. Lay judge will be chosen from Japanese people who are more than 20 years old with the right to vote randomly. A lay judge will be chosen from Japanese people who are more than 20 years old and with the right to vote randomly. Lay judge will be chosen among Japanese people with the right to vote who are more than 20 years old. Randomly. I want to be rich enough to be able to buy anything randomly. And since I don't have much time to choose food, so I picked out any food randomly from the supermarket, from the shelves. Since I do not have much time, so I picked out any food from the shelves at randomly. We are going to conduct a survey to know the public opinion. We will conduct a survey in order to know the public opinions, so as to know the public opinions. And thanks to the survey, we could know the trend to a certain extent, to some degree, to some extent. We will make a survey of people's favorite food. We will make a survey of how they think about coronavirus after 3 years. We will make a survey of how they want to spend in this summer. We will make a survey of how the pedestrians want to spend in this summer. We will make a survey of how they want to spend in this summer. The detectives made a survey of the house. The detectives make a survey of the criminal's house. The detective made a survey of the criminal's house. The detectives made a survey of the criminal's house. The detectives and the cops made a survey of the criminal's house. The detectives made a survey of the suspect's house. The detectives made a survey of the criminal's house. The detectives made a survey of the criminal's house. The detectives made a survey of the criminal's house. The detectives made a survey of the documents obtained from the criminal's house. The detectives made a survey of the documents obtained from the criminal's house. The researchers are making a survey of the particles obtained from the minor planet asteroid called Ryugu. The researchers are making a survey of the particles obtained from the asteroid. The researchers are making a survey of the particles got from the minor planet asteroid. It was such a landmark success to be able to get sample particles from the minor planet far from the Earth and bring them back to the Earth. It was awesome feat. It was such an awesome feat to get particles from the asteroid far from the Earth, such a small asteroid, and bring them back to the Earth. Such a great feat. The researchers are making a survey of the particles obtained from the asteroid. The researchers are making a survey of the particles obtained from the asteroid. I have to make a survey of the destination to see if there are enough toilets and so on before my tour guide. I had to make a survey of the area to see if there are enough toilets and so on before my guiding. I had to make a survey of the area, sightseeing areas, before my guiding to check the toilets and other spots and so on. I had to make a survey of the destination before my guiding to see if there are enough toilets and so on. I had to make a survey of the destination to see if there are enough toilets around before my guiding, so that I could guide well for my foreign guests. The detectives surveyed the documents obtained from the criminal's house. The detectives surveyed the documents obtained from the criminal's house. The detectives surveyed the documents obtained from the criminal's house. The detectives surveyed the criminal's house. I had to survey the destination. I had to survey the area where I guide before my sincere foreign guests arrived to see if there are enough toilets nearby. The researchers are surveying the particles obtained from the minor planet. The researchers are surveying. The researchers are surveying the particles obtained from the minor planet. The researchers are surveying the particles obtained from the minor planet. The researchers are surveying the particles obtained from the minor planet. I still need to survey the destination more. I still need to survey the job more. I still need to survey the job more before I really enter the company. The cops are surveying why the criminals committed the crime. The cops are surveying why the criminal committed the crime. The police officers are surveying why the criminal committed the crime. The researchers are surveying the particles obtained from the asteroid. The researchers are surveying the particles obtained from the planet, minor planet. The journalist surveyed the opinions from the passers-by. The journalist surveyed the opinions from the passers-by regarding how they want to spend this summer. The journalist surveyed the opinions from the pedestrians regarding how they want to spend this summer. Please mix up the butter, eggs, and wheat flour until they become thick. Please mix up the butter, eggs, and wheat flour until they become thick. Okay? Please boil it until it becomes thick. 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 I used to mix up the position of Tottori Prefecture and that of Shiman Prefecture because both prefectures are located next to each other and the kanjis looks also similar. So I often mixed up. I used to confuse the position of Tottori Prefecture with the position of Shimane Prefecture. I used to confuse the position of Tottori Prefecture with that of Shimai Prefecture because they both are located next to each other and the kanjis also look similar. I used to mix up the position of Tottori Prefecture with that of Shinan Prefecture because both prefectures are situated, sited next to each other, so which was very confusing for me. Now I can recognize it well because I studied well. Good. 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 Water. To smooth my throat because I speak a lot. Please do not mix up me with my brother. Please do not mix up me with my brother. I was often mixed up with my father because we both looked so similar. I used to resemble my father, but not now. I used to resemble my father. So I was often mixed up with my father. 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 My relatives often mixed up me with my father. My relatives often mixed me with my father. My relatives often mixed me up with my father. My relatives often mixed me up with my father. My relatives often mixed me up with my father. Please mix up the ingredients until they become thick. Please stir up. Please stir up the mixture until they become thick. I sometimes mix up the position of Tochigi Prefecture with that of Gunma Prefecture. I sometimes mix up the position of Mount Asana with that of Mount Ontake. I sometimes mix up the employee A with employee B because they both look similar. My relatives often mixed me up with my father. My relatives often confused me with my father. I was often confused with my father. I was often confused with my father. I was often mixed up with my father. I was often mixed up with my father. Some people mix up Osaka Station with Umeda Station. Some people mix up Osaka Station with Umeda Station. Some people mix up Osaka Station with Umeda Station. Some people mix up Umeda Station with Osaka Station. Some people mix up Osaka Station with Umeda Station. The Pure Land Garden describes the Buddhist paradise. The Pure Land Garden, or Jodoshiki Teien, describes the Buddhist paradise. The most famous one is that of Byodo-in Temple in Uji, Kyoto, southeast part of Kyoto. I haven't been there, but I want to go there someday. The Pure Land Garden expresses Buddhist paradise. Buddhist paradise. His expression on his face describes his anger. His expression in his face describes his anger. This piece describes my feelings that I have been felt ever in my life. This piece describes what I felt in my life ever. This piece describes what I felt in my life ever. What does the painting describe? What does the painting describe? I cannot understand at all. I cannot make heads or tails of what the painting describes. I cannot make heads or tails of what the painting describes. I cannot make heads or tails of what the painting describes. I cannot make heads or tails of what the painting describes. What does the painting describe? What does the painting describe? Could you describe the situation there? Could you describe the situation there? Could you sum up what you've heard, what you heard in the meeting? Could you sum up what you heard in the meeting? Could you sum up what you heard in the meeting? Could you sum up what you heard from pedestrian? Could you sum up the meeting, please? And could you sum up what you heard at the meeting in the A4 print? And please submit it to me later. Thank you. What does the painting describe? What does the character describe? It's difficult to describe what I felt. It's difficult to describe what I felt. It's a little difficult to describe what I felt. Describing what I felt is impossible. Describing what I felt by words is not possible. Describing what I felt by words is difficult. Describing what I felt by words is impossible. Describing what I felt by words is difficult. So we have to use art such as music, calligraphy, and paintings to support, to add information to what we felt, to add information to what we felt. His expression in his face describes his anger. His hitting the desk describes his anger. His hitting the desk describes his anger. His hitting desk describes his anger. His smile describes his happiness. Her smile describes her 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 happiness. I will describe you as a Superman. I will describe you as a genius. If you can solve the problem, if you can solve the question, I will describe you as a superhero. I will describe you as a robot. I will describe you as a walking encyclopedia. I will describe you as a walking encyclopedia. I will describe you as a walking disc encyclopedia. My boss described me as ninja. My boss described me as samurai. My boss described me as a ninja, samurai. Do not describe you as foolish just because you failed once. Do not describe you as foolish just because you failed. Do not describe you as foolish just because you made a mistake. Do not describe you as foolish just because you make a mistake. Make a mistake is normal. Do not describe you as foolish just because you make a mistake. Do not describe yourself as foolish just because you make a mistake. We shouldn't describe ourselves as foolish just because we make a mistake. We shouldn't describe ourselves as foolish just because we make a mistake. We shouldn't describe ourselves as foolish just because we make a mistake. I describe you as a walking encyclopedia. I describe you as a superhero who can solve anything for me. I describe you as a superhero. I describe you as a superhero. My foreign friend described me as a samurai. My foreign friend described me as a Terminator. What do you think of the description of this textbook? The description of the character is very difficult. The description of the character is very difficult. Can you understand the description of the painting? The description of the painting won't be understood by many people. Not many people will understand the description of the painting. I couldn't understand the description of the textbook, so I asked my teacher directly. The description of the textbook was not understandable for me, so I asked my teacher directly. Description. Can I get the description? The beauty of Mount Fuji is beyond description. The spectacular view from the summit of Mount Fuji was beyond description. The difficulty of entering the University of Tokyo was beyond the reach of my imagination, beyond the reach of my level. The price of the watch was beyond the reach of my budget. The price for the flight ticket was beyond the reach of my budget. The description of the character is very difficult. I'd like to show my description of Mount Fuji by music. I wanted to show my description of what I felt, so I turned my feelings into music. I turned my feelings into music to show the description of my feelings. And one of the ways of turning your feelings into description is one of the ways to show your feelings is the description by art. This piece reflects my feelings well. This piece is a perfect description of my feelings. This piece is a perfect description of my feelings. This piece is a perfect description of my feelings. The Pure Land Garden in Motsuji Temple in Iwate Prefecture is the description of the Buddhist paradise. The Pure Land Garden in Byodo-in Temple in Uji, Kyoto is the description of the Buddhist paradise. Description. 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 I couldn't understand by the description of the textbook, so I asked my teacher directly. I couldn't understand. I could hardly understand the description from the textbook, so I went to the teacher to ask directly. I could scarcely understand the description from the textbook, so I directly asked my teacher. I directly asked my teacher for concise explanation because I could hardly understand the description from the textbook. I directly asked my teacher for the more concise explanation. This piece is a perfect description of my feelings. The description of the nature in the movie is very marvelous and sensitive and elaborate. The description of nature in the movie is very delicate. The description of the character was so delicate in the stage drama. His description of the character was very good, very great, very sophisticated. The new character's description was very good. His description of the character was great, elaborate. splendid, marvelous, fantastic. What do you think of the description of the character? What do you think of his description of the character? What do you think of the description of the character? This painting is a description of the landscape from Edo period. This painting is a description of the landscape from Edo period. This painting is a description of the life and culture from Edo period. This picture is a description of the life from Edo period. This picture is the perfect description of the life from Edo period. The beauty of Mount Fuji was beyond description. The beauty of Kapila Bay was beyond description. I could hardly understand the descriptive explanation from the textbook, so I directly asked my teacher for more concise explanation. Only descriptive data are available for now. Only descriptive data are available. Descriptive data are available. I got descriptive precautions from a doctor to get my medicines filled. I got descriptive prescription from the doctor to get my medicine refilled. I will have my doctor prescribe the medicine because I'm running short of the medicine. I'm running short of my medicine. I'm being short of medicine. I'm running out of medicine. I'm running out of medicine. I'm running short of medicine. I will have my doctor prescribe the medicine. I will have my doctor prescribe the medicine because I am running short of the medicine. I am running short of the medicine. I am running out of the medicine. Descriptive. 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 Only descriptive data are available. The detectives are surveying the descriptive data, descriptive information. The detectives are surveying the descriptive information. The detectives are surveying the descriptive information. Descriptive information. The detectives are making a survey of the descriptive information. Descriptive. The detectives are making a survey of the descriptive information. Descriptive documents. Descriptive. The detectives are making a survey of the descriptive information. The detectives are surveying the descriptive information. Descriptive information. The detectives are making a survey of the descriptive information. The detectives are surveying the descriptive information. Surveying the descriptive information. The detectives are surveying the descriptive information. The detectives are surveying the descriptive information. Descriptive data, descriptive documents. Descriptive documents were found from the house. I showed my descriptive plans to my boss. I passed my descriptive plans to my boss. I handed in my descriptive plans to my boss. I handed in my descriptive plans to my boss. I turned in my descriptive plans to my boss. Only descriptive music sheets are available. Only descriptive music sheet is available. Only descriptive music sheets are 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 available. More and more things are coming to light thanks to the descriptive data, descriptive information. More and more information are coming up from the descriptive information. More and more truths are coming up. More and more truths are coming up from the descriptive information. More and more information are coming up from the descriptive data. More and more information is coming up. More and more information are coming up from the descriptive documents. Descriptive. 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 I derive my happiness from studying. I derive my happiness from studying. Some people derive their happiness from drinking alcoholic beverages. Don't deprive me of my precious time. Don't deprive me of my precious time. Don't deprive me of my precious time. Don't deprive your children of their fantastic dreams. Don't rob your children of their fantastic dreams. Children doesn't want to be robbed of their fantastic dreams. Children don't want to be robbed of their fantastic dreams. Children don't want to be deprived of their fantastic dreams. Descriptive. More and more information are coming up from the descriptive data. Descriptive data. Descriptive data. Descriptive. 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 Descriptive data. Only descriptive data are available. Only descriptive data are available. Only descriptive data are available. Descriptive data are available. Descriptive. 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 The descriptive information made me confused. I could hardly understand the descriptive explanation, so I asked directly my teacher for more concise explanation. I could hardly understand the descriptive explanation, so I directly went to my teacher to ask for more concise explanation. I could scarcely understand the descriptive explanation, so I directly went to my teacher to ask a question. descriptive, 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 descriptive. The Pure Land Garden portrays the Buddhist paradise. The most famous one is that of Byodo-in Temple in Uji, Kyoto. What does the painting portray? What does the painting portray? I cannot understand what the painting portrays. I cannot understand. I cannot comprehend what the painting portrays. What does the painting portray? 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 What does his action 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 portray? Portraying the character is very difficult. It is difficult, very difficult to portray. Portray the character. Portraying the character is very difficult. I'd like to portray a period. 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 Period. Have you portrayed Frankenstein? Have you portrayed Frankenstein at the museum? At the show? Have you portrayed Frankenstein at the show? Have you ever portrayed Frankenstein at the show? Have you ever portrayed Frankenstein at the show? Have you ever portrayed Frankenstein at the show? The movie portrays the life in Edo period. 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 We have small, middle, and large size. The movie portrays the life in Edo period. This piece portrays my feelings very well. This piece portrays my feelings very well. This piece portrays my sadness very well. I expressed my sadness into this music. This music portrays my sadness very well. This piece portrays my sadness very well. This piece portrays my sadness. This piece portrays my sadness. This piece portrays my sadness. This piece portrays my sadness, depression. His expression on his face portrays his anger. His smile portrays his happiness. His smile portrays his happiness. His scratching his head describes his nervousness. Him scratching his head portrays his nervousness. Her scratching her head portrays her nervousness. His scratching his head portrays his stress, irritation, frustration. His scratching his head portrays his irritation, frustration. His scratching his head portrays his irritation. 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 The Pure Land Garden portrays the Buddhist paradise. This piece portrays my feelings very well. The movie portrays the life in Edo period. The movie portrays the life in Edo period. The movie portrays the life in Edo period. The movie portrays the period life in Edo period. The movie portrays the life in Edo period. This movie is a perfect portrayal of the life in Edo period. This movie is a perfect portrayal of the life in Edo period. Your portrayal of the character was acclaimed well. Your portrayal of the character is well acclaimed. Your portrayal of the character is well reputed. Your portrayal of the character is well reputed. Your portrayal of the character is well reputed. This piece is a perfect portrayal of my sadness. The portrayal of my feelings is very difficult to express. The portrayal of my feelings is beyond description. No one can show my portrayal of my feelings. Portrayal. What is the difference between portrayal and portrait? Portrayal. 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 His hitting the head. His hitting the desk is a perfect portrayal of his irritation. His scratching his head is a portrayal of his irritation. His scratching his head is a portrayal of his irritation. Him scratching his head is a portrayal of his irritation, frustration. His closing his eyes is a portrayal of his nervousness. His hitting his desk is a portrayal of his irritation. His scratching his head is a portrayal of his irritation. Portrayal of the character is not an easy task. Not easy a task. Not easy a task. Not easy. Not an easy task. Not an easy task. Portrayal of the character isn't easy a task. It's not an easy task. Isn't an easy task. Portrayal of the character is not an easy task. Portrayal of the character isn't an easy task. It's not an easy task. Isn't an easy task. Isn't an easy task. It's not an easy task. It's not an easy task. Isn't an easy task. Portrayal. I cannot understand the portrayal of the painting. I cannot understand. I cannot comprehend. I cannot apprehend the portrayal of the painting. This painting is a perfect portrayal of the Mount Fuji. This painting is a perfect portrayal of the Mount Fuji. This painting is a perfect portrayal of Mount Fuji. This painting is a perfect portrayal of Mount Fuji. Portrayal, 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 portrayal. Frowning is the portrayal of his irritation. Frowning and turning away are the portrayal of irritation. Frowning, frown, frown. Frowning is a portrayal of irritation. Frowning is a portrayal of irritation. Frowning is a portrayal of irritation. Frowning is a portrayal of the irritation. Portrayal, 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 portrayal. Frowning is a portrayal of the irritation. Portrayal. What is the difference between portrayal and portrait? I had the painter draw my portrait at the street for 5 minutes. I had the painter draw my portrait. I had my portrait drawn. I had my portrait drawn. I had my portrait drawn by the painter on the street. I will have the painter draw my portrait on the street. I will have my portrait drawn by the painter on the street. Where did you have your portrait drawn? 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 Where did you get your portrait to be drawn? Where did you get your portrait drawn? Where did you get your portrait drawn? First, you need to deposit us 5,000 yen as a deposit, and you can get it back when you check out the hotel. If there's nothing problem. First, you need to deposit us 5,000 yen, and you can get it back, have it back after the checking out with no problem. Okay. Portrait. I saw some portraits in his house. I saw some portraits of historical figures in the school. I saw some portraits of historical figures in the museum. I saw some portraits of the historical figures in the museum. I saw some historical portraits, historical people's portraits. I saw some portraits of historical figures. portrait. I will have my portrait drawn by the artist. I will have my portrait drawn by the artist. I'm going to have my portrait drawn by the artist, my favorite artist. I am going to have my portrait drawn. I will get my portrait drawn. I'm going to get my portrait drawn. I'm going to get my portrait drawn. I'm going to get my portrait drawn by the artist. I'm going to get my portrait drawn by the artist. I am going to have my portrait drawn by the artist. Where did you get the portrait drawn? Where did you get your portrait drawn? Where did you have your portrait drawn? This is a portrait of mine. His scratching his head is a portrait of his irritation. His scratching his head is a portrayal of his irritation. The portrait of the character is very difficult. This painting is a perfect portrait of Mount Fuji. This movie is a perfect portrait of the life in Edo period. This painting is a portrait of the life in Edo period. This painting is a portrait of Mount Fuji. This movie is a portrait of the life in Edo period. Where did you get your portrait drawn? Where did you get your portrait drawn? I'd like to have you draw my portrait. I'd like to have you draw my portrait. I want you to 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 draw my I want you to draw my portrait. 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 I will have my artist draw my portrait. I will have my favorite artist draw my portrait. I will have my favorite artist draw my portrait. I will get my favorite artist to draw my portrait. I will get my favorite artist to draw my portrait. This painting is the perfect portrait of the Mount Fuji. This painting is a perfect portrait of the life in Edo period. The timber is first processed in the factory before shipping them to the wholesaler. The timbers are first processed in the mountain before shipping to the wholesaler. Do you often eat processed foods? 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 The pet bottles will be processed into something we can reuse. The pet bottles and cans will be processed into something we can reuse. Hopefully my documents were processed successfully. Hopefully my documents were processed successfully. Fortunately, my documents were processed successfully. Many cuisines are processed enough before. The meat is processed. Do you often eat processed foods? Do you often eat processed foods? Do you often eat processed foods? Processed foods. The pet bottles and cans are processed into something we can reuse. Pet bottles and cans are processed at the factory. Pet bottles and cans are processed in the factory. We will learn many things in the process of our life. We make many mistakes in the process of our lives. We make many mistakes in the course of our lives. We make many mistakes and grow gradually in the process of our lives. We make many mistakes in the course of our lives. We make many mistakes in the process of our lives. We make many mistakes in the process of our lives. We make many mistakes in the process of our lives. We make many mistakes in the process of our lives. We make many mistakes in the process of our lives, in the course of our lives. We learn many things and make many mistakes in the process of our lives. You can learn. You can prepare well in the process of the lessons. You can prepare enough in the process of the lessons. The timber is processed enough before shipping them to the wholesaler. The recipe of how to make the ramen is unveiled in mystery, not made public. The recipe of how to make the ramen is kept secret. There are many phases in the process. The process is divided into 3 phases. First, the candidates will be judged by the entry sheet. Do you often eat processed foods? You can see the procession of the festival participants dressed in traditional clothes in each period of time in Jidai Matsuri. You can see the procession of festival participants dressed in traditional clothes from each period of time in Jidai Matsuri. I saw the procession of the demonstration. I saw the procession of the demonstration group. I saw a procession of a group on the street. The processor of my PC used to be sophisticated and very high quality about 9 years ago, but not now. It's slow. It's getting slow. More higher quality of processors are being higher quality of processors exist now. Processor. The factory you can see over there is the processor of meat. The factory you can see over there is the processor of timber. Processor. 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 The processor of my PC used to be very fast, sophisticated, but not now. The processor of my PC is now very old. I need to buy a new one. As soon as possible, as soon as I can. The factory over there is a processor of timber. The factory over there is a processor of pet bottles and cans. The processor of timber. The factory over there is a processor of the timber. Processor. Thanks to the fast processor, I can process many things so fast on my computer. With faster processor, we can finish our job faster. With faster processor, we can finish our job faster. Processor. Thanks to the faster processor than before, we can finish our tasks faster. Thanks to the sophisticated processor than previous ones, we can finish our jobs faster. Processor. 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 What kind of processor is a factory? 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 Processor. Processor. The processor is something wrong. There is something wrong with the processor of my PC. It's not working well. It often freezes. It often freezes. There's something wrong with my processor. There's something wrong with the processor of my brain. There's something wrong with the processor of my brain. It doesn't work well. There's something wrong. Something went wrong. Went wrong with my. Something went wrong with my PC. Something went wrong with the processor of my PC. Something went wrong with my brain. Something went wrong with the processor of the PC. Processor. Something went wrong with the processor of the PC. Something went wrong with the processor of the PC. Processor. 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 The factory over there is a processor of timber. Processor. 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 The test was conducted to check recognition. The driver's recognition. The test was conducted to check the driver's recognition. Recognition. The test was conducted to check the driver's recognition. Usually, the stars are recognizable in countryside. A few stars are recognizable in urban city. A few stars are recognizable. Few stars are recognizable in urban cities because they are very light. A few stars are recognizable in urban city from urban city. Few stars are recognizable. A few stars are recognizable in bright area, urban cities. Few stars are recognizable from urban cities. My friend was recognizable from the crowds because she was very. She stood out so well with the red hair and the visual gay clothes. The galaxy is recognizable through the telescope. The galaxy is recognizable through the telescope. Recognizable. The galaxy is recognizable through the telescope. The galaxy is recognizable through the telescope. The galaxy is recognizable through the telescope. The particles cannot be recognizable without telescope, without microscope. The small particles cannot be recognizable without microscope. Not many people recognized the superstar in disguise. Not many people recognized the superstar with disguise in disguise. Celebrities are usually in many disguises. Celebrities are usually in many disguises so that they won't be noticed. When did you recognize the difference? The taste of real sushi and those from 100 yen. When did you can you recognize the different taste between expensive sushi and 100 yen sushi? Can you tell the difference? Can you tell fancy sushi from 100 yen sushi? Can you tell expensive sushi from 100 yen sushi? Crazy ideas won't be recognized. Not many crazy ideas won't be recognized. Not many crazy ideas will be recognized by the executives. My itinerary was recognized finally. My itinerary was recognized finally by the executives. My proposal was finally recognized by the board of directors. My proposals were finally recognized at the board of directors. The ordinance was finally recognized at the municipal council. Municipal council. The ordinance was finally recognized at the council, at the municipal council. I was finally recognized as a full-time worker at the company. I was finally recognized as a full-time worker at the company. I was finally recognized as a full-time worker at the company. I was finally recognized as a new employee at the company, which I really wanted to enter. I was finally recognized as a diplomat at the foreign minister, at the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Japan. I was finally recognized as a diplomat of the country. I was finally recognized as a full-time worker at the company. My improvement, Kaizen, was finally recognized. It is difficult for crazy ideas to be recognized at the board of directors. It is very difficult for the crazy ideas to be recognized. My crazy idea was not recognized. My crazy idea was not recognized. If you need assistance, please do not hesitate to contact us. If you want any assistance, please tell us no. Please let me know. Please message me. My parents assisted me when I was a university student. My relatives assisted me in pursuing my dreams. Not many people might assist you in pursuing your big dreams. My relatives assisted me in pursuing my dreams. So I will also assist my relatives, my friends. I'd like to assist you. I'd like to assist you because you assisted me too. Both of us should be successful in life. If we never give up, we can be successful, we believe. I believe, unless we give up, we can achieve our goals. I believe, unless we give up, we can achieve our goals, even if they are so big dreams. I was assisted by senior colleagues when I was a new employee, freshman. I was assisted by my senior colleague when I was a freshman. I used to work as assistant under him. I used to work as assistant driver. I used to work as assistant driver of the politician. I used to work as assistant driver of the politician, for the politician. I used to work as an assistant under him, under my boss. I used to work as an assistant under my boss. I used to work as an assistant under my boss. Assistant. I used to work as an assistant under my boss. I used to work as an assistant under my boss. I used to work as an assistant under my boss. I used to work as an assistant under my boss. Please use the assistant driving seat. Always the assistant driving seat is filled with items in his car. Whenever I saw the inside of my teacher's car, the assistant driving seat was filled with many objects, stuff, things. Whenever I saw the inside of my teacher's car, the assistant driving seat was filled with items, things, stuffs. Far fewer people went outside during the state of emergency. Far fewer people went outside during the state of emergency. Far fewer people went traveling during the state of emergency. Far fewer people went outside and went on a trip during the state of emergency. Far fewer people know about the truth behind the scenes. Far fewer people could enter the University of Tokyo. Far fewer people could speak the language. Far fewer people can speak Japanese in the world. Far fewer people can speak Japanese in the world except for Japan. Far fewer people went on a trip during the state of emergency. Far fewer people went on a trip during the state of emergency. Far fewer people went on a trip during the state of emergency. Few people know the truth. Few people went on a trip during the state of emergency. Few people went on a trip during the state of emergency. few people are brave enough to try something new. Far fewer people are brave enough to try something big. Far fewer people are brave enough to try something big. Far fewer people were playing in the ground today. Far fewer people were playing in the ground today. Far fewer children were playing in the park today. Far fewer children were playing in the garden today. Far fewer children were playing in the garden today. Far fewer children were playing around the garden today. Far fewer children were playing in the ground today. Far fewer children were playing in the ground today. Far fewer children were playing in the ground today. Far fewer children were playing in the ground today. Far fewer children were playing in the ground today. Far fewer children were playing in the ground today. My survey was criticized as unscientific. My report was criticized as unscientific. My report was criticized as unscientific. Many things happen unscientifically. Some people judge something unscientifically. Some people make a decision unscientifically. We need scientific result to make a decision. My decision was criticized as unscientific. My proposal was criticized as unscientific. My decision was criticized as unscientific. My decision was criticized as unscientific. If you operate the machine like that violently, it will break down soon. Although I bought the digital camera yesterday, it already broke down. If you use object violently, it will break down soon. If you use anything violently, it will break down soon. The copy machine broke down suddenly. Please use anything kindly so that they won't break down soon. The security camera captured a thief breaking into the house. The security camera captured a thief breaking into the house. Someone must have broken in while I was away from home. Someone must have broken in while I was away from home. The deer broken in while I was sleeping. Many ants broke into my room while I was sleeping, which was creepy. The police officers broke into the criminal's apartment suddenly to capture the criminal. The police officers broke in the apartment where the criminal is expected to be living. The police officers broke in the apartment where the criminals were believed to be living, having a life. The police officers broke in the apartment where the criminals were predicted to be living. The fight between the two students broke out with trivial things. Mistakes might break out by negligence. Mistakes might break out. Mistakes might break out. Mistakes might break out with negligence. The fire broke out because of the owner failing to turn off the switch of the kitchen. The fire broke out because of the owner's failure to stop the switch of the kitchen. Tsunami can break out after earthquake. Tsunami can break out after tsunami. Fire broke out at the Shuri Castle in Okinawa, which was very sad. Typhoon might break out when we go on a trip. Typhoon might break out when we go on a trip, so we have to take that into account too. We have to take it into consideration too. Typhoon might break out when we go on a trip. Typhoon might break out when we go on a trip, so we have to take it into account too. We have to take that into consideration too. The temple burned down due to the arson. The arson burned the temple down. The arson burned down the temple. The arson burned the temple down. The arson burned the temple down. Burned the temple down. The arson burned the temple down. Burned the temple down. I saw a building burning down. I saw a building burning when it was put out by the firefighters. The firefighters are putting out the fire from the house. Unfortunately, the Shuri Castle burned down. Unfortunately, the Shuri Castle burned down. Many historical monuments were burned down in the past. Many historical monuments historical important assets burned down in the past. Todaiji Temple was also burned down in the past. In the battles in the past. By the battle in the past. Todaiji Temple also burned down by the battles in the past. I tried to calm the little lady down, but she kept crying. The teacher was trying to calm the little lady down, but she kept crying. With time, we will calm down. The typhoon is coming down. It is passing away. Soon it will be fine. I tried to calm myself down before my performance, but I couldn't. I tried to calm myself down before the performance, but I couldn't. I felt my heart beating so fast. 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 The wind outside is coming down. The wind outside is coming down. The student was so excited at the moment, but now he is coming down. The two fighting students were so excited, but they are coming down. The teacher calmed the two students down. The teacher calmed down the two students. The teacher calmed down the two students. The teacher calmed down the two students. Calmed down the two students. Are you going to carry on your career? Are you going to carry on your pianist career? Are you going to carry on your current job? Or quit and pursue your dream? It is difficult to carry on something for a long time, forever. It can be difficult. It's very difficult to carry on something forever. Not many people can carry on with something forever. Not many people can carry on with something forever. Not many people can carry on with something forever. Not many people can carry on something forever. Not many people can carry on with something forever. Not many people can carry on with something forever. Can you carry on with English study forever? I'm going to carry on with my English study forever. I'm going to carry on with my English study forever. I carried on studying until my parents stopped me. Some students carry on studying until they are stopped. Some students carry on studying until they are stopped by their teachers or parents. My life will carry on. My grandparents' lives are carrying on in my heart. My grandparents' lives are carrying on in my heart. The story still carrying on. The story is carrying on. The chapter is still carrying on. Not many people carry on with something forever. Not many people can carry on with something forever. Not many people can carry on with something forever. After one day sleep, I cheered up. After drinking the energy drink, I cheered up. After drinking a cup of coffee, I cheered up. The teacher cheering me up. The teacher cheered me up when I got bad score on the examination. My teacher cheered me up when I got the bad score on the examination. After one day's sleep, I cheered up. Unfortunately, I came down with a cold, but after one day's sleep, I cheered up. After one day's sleep, I cheered up. The teacher cheered me up when I got a bad score on the examination. Tsunami can come about after earthquake. Tsunami can come about after earthquake. Typhoon come about when we go on a trip. Tsunami, a typhoon can come about when we go on a trip. So we have to keep that in mind. We have to bear that in mind. We have to keep that in consideration. We have to take it into consideration. We have to take it into account. We have to take it into consideration. The fight between the two students came about with trivial quarrel. The fight between the two students came about suddenly, and teacher stopped it. I saw the new sunrise coming out of the horizon. Many people were waiting for the sun coming up from the horizon. Many people were waiting for the sun to come out of the horizon on New Year, January 1st. More and more evidence is coming out. Do you think the new style of the car will come out next year? Do you think Street Fighter 8 will come out next year? I hope the decisive new evidence will come out. I hope the new decisive evidence will come out. I hope decisive evidence will come out. Come up the door. I am waiting for the new version of the video game to come out. I hope the new video game will come out. I hope the Street Fighter 8 will come out soon. May I drop in on you today? May I drop in on you today? May I drop in on you today? May I drop by you? May I drop in on you? Could you drop by at somewhere? Could you drop by? Could you drop by somewhere convenience store? Could you drop by some convenience store? Could you drop by 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 convenience store? Could you stop by convenience store? Could you stop by convenience store? Could you drop in at 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 somewhere there is toilet? Could you drop in at somewhere where there is a toilet? Could you drop in at somewhere, some facility where I can use the toilet? Could you drop in at somewhere I can use the toilet? Could you drop in at somewhere I can use the toilet? Could you drop by somewhere I can use the toilet? Could you stop by somewhere I can use the toilet? My cousin dropped in on me suddenly, which surprised me. My cousin dropped in on me suddenly. My cousin dropped in on me suddenly. I don't like to be dropped in on suddenly. I don't like to be dropped in on suddenly. I don't like to be dropped in on suddenly. I don't like to be dropped in on suddenly. I don't like to be dropped in on suddenly. I don't like to be dropped in on suddenly. I don't like to be dropped in on suddenly. My cousin dropped in on me suddenly. My cousin dropped in on me suddenly. My cousin dropped in on me suddenly. Could you drop by somewhere I can use the toilet? Could you stop by somewhere I can use the toilet? Could you drop by at somewhere? Could you drop by at somewhere? Could you drop by at somewhere? Could you drop by somewhere I can use? Could you drop by somewhere I can use toilet? Could you stop by somewhere I can use toilet? The member dropped out of the team. My favorite member dropped out of the group, which made me surprised, which took me by surprise. The runner dropped out of the course and was having a rest in the mountain, and come out of the mountain when it was a time to finish. The runner went out of the course and was resting, having a rest in the middle of the mountain, and came out of the mountain at when it was the finishing time. The runner went out of the course and was resting in the mountain, and came out of the mountain when it was the finishing time. The runner went out of the runner dropped out of the course and was resting, having a rest in the mountain, and came out of the mountain when it was finishing time. Can I know the reason why you dropped out of the company? Can I know the reason why you dropped out of the company? Can I know the reason why you dropped out of the association? Can I know the reason why you dropped out of the university? It was very hard to enter the university, right? You struggled. You struggled to enter the university, right? Why did you drop out of the university? Why did you drop out of the university? Many passengers are getting off the train. The passengers are getting off the bus now. The passengers are getting off the bus now. The passengers are getting off. The passengers are getting off. Excuse me, I'd like to know which station I should get off. I'd like to know which station I should get off to go to Osaka Castle. Excuse me, which station should I get off? Which station should I get off to visit Osaka Castle? Excuse me, which station should I get off to go to Osaka Castle? Excuse me, which station should I get off? At which station should I get off? To go to Himeji Castle. Excuse me, at which station should I get off to go to Himeji Castle? Excuse me, at which station should I get off to go to Osaka Castle? Excuse me, at which station should I get off to go to Universal Studios Japan? I saw many passengers getting off the bus. I hurried to the train station to get on the last train. Many people were running to the platform to get on the last train. Many passengers were running to the platform to get on the last train. If they missed the last train, they would have to stay in a capsule hotel around. If I had missed the last train, I would have stayed in a capsule hotel nearby. I hurried to the train station to catch on. to catch the train, to catch the last train, to get on the last train. I could get on the last train hopefully. Fortunately, I could get on the last train. Fortunately, I could get on the last train. So I didn't have to stay in a capsule hotel nearby. Okay, I will finish speaking here. Thank you for watching. See you next time. See you!